Hi everybody, how are you doing? It's lovely to see you. So great to see you. And wonderful to be here by the power of technology in Cupar Library. And so exciting that Cupar Library is 150 years young this year. How wonderful, congratulations. So my name is Michelle Sloan and I'm a children's writer. I have written a few books and I've got some here to show you. Fourth Bonniest Baby in Dundee, Greyfriars Bobby, A Puppy's Tale, Extraordinary Women of the Bible, and look, here's a baby book that has lots of pictures but hardly any words. And here's a book for teenagers that has no pictures, but lots and lots of words. But I'm going to chat to you today about my series of books called Animal Adventure Club. There's the Baby Deer Rescue. Cute, isn't it? There's the Baby Otter Rescue. And the third one, can you guess what the third one's about? What's that? That's right, it's a red squirrel. The third one is the Baby Red Squirrel Rescue. But as you can see, it's not just one red squirrel, is it? Yeah, it's three red squirrels. So I'm going to chat to you about that book and introduce you to the characters. The Animal Adventure Club is made up of 4 children who love animals. And they all volunteer at a local nature reserve in a place called Pittendewy. And they are called Isla, Gracie, Buzz, and Lexi. Isla, she's the real animal expert. She researches animals, finds out everything there is to know. She's lovely and calm, which is a good personality trait to have when you're around animals. Very kind and funny, hates brushing her hair. Is that like any of you? This is Gracie. She's a survival expert. If you need a den built, she's your girl. She's also very good at tracking animals, so she looks for evidence that animals have been nearby. She'll look at footprints and identify them. She can even identify their droppings, their poo. And she loves Bear Grylls on the television. That's her favourite TV presenter, or personality rather. And she's super loyal, Gracie. She's a great friend, very smart, very brave. Then this is Buzz. He's a really thoughtful, kind person. Buzz really wants to be a vet when he's older, so he's more interested in caring for animals, particularly if they're injured or unwell. He knows exactly what to do in those situations, so he's a great member of the club. He also loves biscuits, particularly custard creams, so he always has a packet in his backpack, and where they have their meetings in the lodge, there's a biscuit tin. He always keeps that topped up. And then finally we have the newest member, Lexi. And Lexi is very loud. She's got a big loud voice. Did that waken you up? That can be a bit of a problem, the loudness. But she's a great person. She's really good fun. She's a little bit impulsive. Sometimes she acts before she thinks. She's also a very talented artist, and she always has a sketchbook and some pencils in her backpack, and she'll draw any animals that they might see when they're out on patrol. So that's the gang, that's the club, and I'm actually going to read you a little bit from the first chapter of the Baby Red Squirrel Rescue. And I just want to show you, when you open the book, and it's all the same in all 3 books, the layout. There's a picture of the children there, of the club members. And then there's a map. And this is really useful, both for you as a reader, but also for me as the writer. And I'll tell you a bit more about the map afterwards, but this is Pittendewy Nature Reserve, and you can see everything that they see when they're out on patrol. So we've got Loch Dewi here, and this book in particular is all about this island in the middle called Mungo's Island. And then we've got the visitors centre and the lodge here. This is where they have their meetings, and the book starts with a meeting that's going on just outside the lodge at a picnic table looking out over to Mungo's Island. So you'll hear about that as well. I'm just going to show you one of the illustrations. I didn't draw the pictures. I'm not brilliant at illustrating. But the illustrator is a lady called Hannah George, and she's super talented. So here you go. Here's the picnic table. I think that's a plate of biscuits there. Don't think it's custard creams though, is it? Chocolate digestives maybe? Something like that. And if you look out into the distance, we've got Mungo's Island and this mysterious building on the island, which we are going to hear a bit more about. So I'm just going to read you a bit of this first chapter, just to give you an idea of what the books are like. Isla MacLeod chewed the end of her pencil and stared out over Pittendewy Nature Reserve. The sun shimmered on Loch Dewi. Swallows swooped overhead and a skylark sang in the distance. It was calm and beautiful, but a worry was bothering Isla like a bird fluttering in her tummy. "Hello, Earth to Isla," said Buzz. "Do you read me?" Isla looked at Buzz, Lexi and Gracie, the other members of the Animal Adventure Club. Her friends were all staring at her. She had been lost in thought and forgotten she was in the middle of a club meeting at a picnic table outside the Ranger's Lodge. "Sorry, what?" Isla said. "You were miles away," said Gracie. "What were you thinking about?" "Oh, nothing," said Isla, shaking her head. "Just daydreaming." "Now, where were we?" "You were going to read out the list of animals to go on our new poster for the information board," said Buzz. "Add midges, by the way." He swatted his hands around his face. Isla glanced down at her list. "So the poster about animals and birds you might spot at Pittendewy Nature Reserve will say foxes, hedgehogs, red squirrels, badgers, roe deer, bats, otters, owls, swallows, oyster catchers." "Is that all? I mean, they're the animals we've seen," said Lexi, "but there must be tons more." Gracie bit her lip. "You're right, Lexi, and we haven't even explored every single part of the nature reserve." "We have so," said Buzz defiantly. "We go out on patrol at least 3 times a week, Gracie. We know it pretty well," said Lexi. "Well, there's one place we've never been," said Gracie with a knowing smile. Everyone frowned and stared at her. "Where?" asked Isla. "Mungo's Island," said Gracie with a grin. "Whose island?" said a very confused Lexi. "Mungo's Island," said Gracie, pointing towards the loch. They all looked out towards the small island in the middle of Loch Dewi. They could see trees and bushes tangled around a mysterious small building. "Yeah," said Isla, "you're right. We've never been over there." "What is that castle thing?" Lexi asked, standing up and reaching for her binoculars. "Oh, that's the Folly," said Buzz casually. "The whatty?" asked Lexi, the lenses pressed to her eyes. "Well," said Buzz, popping a custard cream in his mouth, It's a kind of giant garden decoration," Isla explained. "It was built years ago when the nature reserve belonged to Mungo, the Laird of Dewi." "We need to explore," said Gracie. "Think of all the animals living over there that we've never seen." "It's Saturday tomorrow. Why don't we go then?" suggested Buzz. "Great idea," agreed Lexi enthusiastically. "And camp," added Gracie. "We could track animals, use camouflage, and maybe even build a den." "Yay!" they all shouted. Lexi, loudest of all. everyone put their fingers in their ears. So they are going to have a little camping adventure over on Mungo's Island. And talking about the map, here's the original map that I drew. The reason I wrote the books, because you always start with an idea, don't you? Was because my children were going up to a local nature reserve and helping out there as volunteers, a bit like the Animal Adventure Club. And I thought, ooh, what a great idea for a book. So I used the idea of the nature reserve, and then I kind of borrowed bits from my local nature reserve and added in. So this is my original drawing. And as I said, I'm not great at drawing, but it doesn't really matter for a map because it's just lines and little kind of teeny tiny bits and bobs. You don't have to be an expert artist for it. But I knew I wanted lots of different things so that there would be different adventures. For example, I knew I wanted a loch and I wanted an island because there would be a boat trip out and that could be exciting. And although I have this small forest up here, I wanted a big, deep, dark forest as well. I'm just going to move that up so you can see. Can you guess why I wanted a big, deep, dark forest? Why do you think? Well, there's two reasons really. The first one is I thought it might be interesting to have animals, the animals that you might live in there, because there'd be lots of animals that would be living right in the middle of the forest. But also I thought, ooh, it could be a bit spooky and it would be exciting if maybe someone got a bit lost. And sure enough, in the first book, in the baby deer rescue, there's a little bit of an adventure when one of the members gets lost in barleycorn forest over here. So there's that. And then it's also just quite useful if I'm wanting to try and imagine what they might see. So if I'm describing them walking around the loch, I have to look back at the map to remind myself, what's there? For example, there's the remains of a Roman fort. So describing that because they walk past it. Or there's Pit and Pond. So again, I have to, what would that look like? How can I describe that? So if you're writing a story, a really good idea is to draw a map to go with it. Even if you don't use it other than for yourself, for your own use, for your own help, for describing bits and bobs. So that's a really good top tip. And it doesn't have to be like this. It could be of a town. It could be a made up fantasy land. It really doesn't matter. And also it can give you ideas for more stories because you might add something in and think, oh, that's exciting. I wonder what I could do with that in another story. So drawing maps is really, really useful. So what sort of things do you think the Animal Adventure Club get up to? Obviously they go out and patrol and they look after any injured animals that they might come across. But what else might they do? Well, I've got a few activities here that they might do. Den building, that's a fun thing to do. I don't know if you've ever tried that. Litter picking and recycling. It's not nice to see litter lying around, is it? Particularly in beautiful countrysides. And as lots of children have pointed out to me as well, as some litter can be harmful to animals. So they make sure that there's no litter lying around. Bird watching. That's always interesting to see if there's any new different birds arriving at the nature reserve, and they top up bird feeders at the lodge. So there's bird feeders there that they can keep an eye on and they can watch. Building bird and bat boxes. Making bug hotels. Now that's a fun thing to do, particularly in the summer. Repairing fences, very important. Identifying trees. Yeah, how many trees do you actually know? That's great fun. Making fact sheets and posters. Organising animal talks. And in one of the books, in the Baby Otter Rescue, they organise a bat talk. A talk about bats. A bat chat, I think they call it. There we go. Look, there's a nighttime creatures bat walk. So they are really involved in the nature reserve and the running of it and looking after it, which is great. Do you think you could do these things? Do you think you could be a member of the Animal Adventure Club? Well, in the book, there's actually a page there all about the club code. So if you want to be a member of the Animal Adventure Club, you have to agree to the club code. And their mission statement there is to take care of all living creatures. Ooh, that includes spiders, everyone. How do you feel about that? So there's a code there. Oh yeah, we'll never drop litter. I'm sure nobody here would drop litter. Having fun outdoors, working as a team, welcoming new members. So there's a code there that they all really try and stick by, but they're very good at working as a team and looking after each other and being kind, because these things are so important. Now we're going to play a little game now. So we're going to work out which member of the Animal Adventure Club are you most like? What personality traits do you have that match? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you a list of questions, and you're going to work out whether you would answer A, B, C or D to each of the questions, and then you have to try and remember them. Now don't panic, because I'll keep reminding you as we go along. It's like a quiz show, this, isn't it? So, question 1. You spot some unusual looking animal footprints on the ground. Do you A, watch and wait? If you're really quiet, you might actually see the animal they belong to. B, check for signs that the animal may be injured or unwell. C, look for its poo or food it may have dropped. This can tell you so much. Or D, whip out your sketchbook and draw them for identifying later. So which answer suits you best? Are you A, watch and wait, see if you can actually spot the animal. B, check for signs that might indicate if the animal's injured or not well. C, look for its poo or food it might have dropped. Or are you D, whip out your sketchbook and draw the footprints for identifying later? So try and work out which one you are, and then remember A, B, C or D. Question 2. You and the rest of the team rescue a hedgehog that you look after. Do you A, research everything there is to know about hedgehogs? B, want to examine it carefully to check for signs of injury or illness? C, look at its eating habits and footprints so that you can spot one in the wild? Or D, sketch it while it's looking its most cute? So are you A, B, C or D? A, research everything about hedgehogs. B, examine it, make sure it's not injured or unwell. C, look at its eating habits and footprints. Or D, sketch it while it's looking its most cute. Last question. You are woken in the middle of the night by a strange animal noise. Do you A, peer out the window to spot the animal? You might learn something about nocturnal habits just by watching. B, worry that the animal is injured and go and get help immediately. C, find your torch, wake your parents and drag them out to investigate with you. You might build a den while you're out there. Or D, hide under the covers. It's too dark to do any drawing and the noise is scary. So that was A, peer out the window. B, worry that the animal's injured. C, find your torch, wake your parents and build a den. Or D, hide under the covers. So, now we need to work out, were you mostly A's, mostly B's, mostly C's, or mostly D's? Or maybe you were a mixture of them all. If you were mostly A's, it's the big reveal now, everyone. Your personality is most like Isla. You're an animal expert. If you were mostly B's, that was really caring for injured animals. Who do you think this is going to be? That's right, it's Buzz. Budding vets. If you were mostly C's, survival experts, Gracie. And finally, mostly D's. What does that make you most like? Lexi. Aha. So animal artists. So there we go. That's a fun little quiz. And actually, do you know what? I'm a bit like all of them. Yeah, I'm a bit like all of the characters at different times. So to finish off, I'm going to read you another little bit from the book. And what happens is they go off camping, and what they do is they go on their own. But Lisa, who's the ranger and the grown-up, she agrees that she'll stay over by the lodge, and if there are any problems, they can contact her with the walkie-talkie. In the middle of the night, it gets very, very windy, and they're woken by a loud bang. And when they go to investigate, they find that a squirrel's nest, which is called a dray, has fallen out of a tree and is balancing on the top of the folly. That was the little castle building, so sort of mini castle. And they realised inside the dray are some squirrel kits, baby squirrels, and they're worried that if the dray falls again, that the squirrels might get injured. So they know they have to help them. Let's find out what happens. Here they are, there's the picture. There's the folly, there's Isla at the top, and she's holding the dray. And if I turn the book in, I'm not very good at managing that, there we go. You can see two little faces peeking out. And that's two of the squirrel kits, but where is the third one? Isla was stuck near the top of the folly with the red squirrel kit's dray in her hands. How would she get down? Suddenly, a welcome voice shouted from below. Right, what have I missed? It was Gracie, wearing her head torch. She marched towards them and then looked up. What are you doing up there, Isla? Isla breathed a sigh of relief. Just in time, Gracie, said Lexi. We have a wee problem. Could you come and help? Asked Isla. The dray came loose in my hands and now I'm stuck. Buzz, go on my shoulders, said Gracie, bending down. Great plan, said Buzz, swinging a leg over Gracie's head. Lexi took his torch and helped to steady him as Gracie lifted him up. Buzz reached up, took the dray out of Isla's shaking hands and handed it to Lexi as Gracie lowered him down. Next, Gracie guided Isla's feet back down the wall of the folly to the safety of the ground. Phew, said Isla. Thanks, Gracie. You always know what to do in a crisis. Sorry I was late, she said. Better late than never, said Buzz. They placed the dray inside one of the folly's window spaces where fallen branches would protect it. It was up off the ground and tucked well away from predators. Chili and spice look cosy in there, said Buzz, peering inside. But that means Scarlet is missing, said Gracie. So they've come up with some fun names for the baby red squirrels. Chili, Spice and Scarlet. Now the dray is lower down. She might be able to find her way back in, suggested Lexi. But where is she? Isla wondered. Let's look in the folly again. They all crept carefully inside the folly, which was littered with fallen Scots pine branches. Buzz slowly flashed his torch around. I don't think she's here, he said. Then there was a small squeak. Wait, said Isla. Look in there. The tiny squirrel kit was stuck deep inside a pile of tangled branches and pine needles. Poor wee thing. She sounds like she's in distress, said Gracie, and she's trapped. She could be injured from the fall too, said Buzz. I think we need to get Lisa to help us with this. Let's get that walkie-talkie, said Gracie. Yes, said Isla, that's a good plan. The Animal Adventure Club headed back round the island to their tents, but they couldn't find the walkie-talkie. I remember Lisa giving you the walkie-talkie, Gracie. Where is it now? Said Buzz. Everyone turned to look at her. I can't remember, said Gracie, chewing a fingernail. I think I put it next to our food supplies before they were loaded onto the boat. Maybe it fell under the seat in the boat, suggested Isla. They ran down to where the boat was tied up and shone their torches over the loch side. But the boat wasn't there. I'm sure I tied the boat up here, said Gracie. Yes, I thought you did too, said Isla. Well, it's not here now, said Buzz. Look, said Lexi, shining her torch on a tree. A piece of rope trailed from it, but the boat was nowhere to be seen. The Animal Adventure Club were stranded on Mungo's Island. Oh, that's the adventure bit. I wonder what will happen. Very exciting stuff. Now, at the back of the books, I've made sure to put in a few animal facts because it's always good to learn, isn't it, a little bit about animals. And each book, obviously, it's about the animals that you meet. So in the Baby Red Squirrel Rescue, we've got a fact file about red squirrels. And there's also a fact file about water voles because they feature in the book too. Do you know anything about water voles? They are adorable. They are so lovely. But yes, there's a fact file that tell you a little bit about what they look like, where they live, what they eat, and some fun facts as well. For example, we can swim. Did you know that? Red squirrels can swim. There's also a couple of activities for you too at the back of each book. So this one has how to build a den. You can be like Gracie and build a den. And there's even a thing about Morse code, which is fascinating and great fun. You can learn how to send messages to each other in Morse code. But importantly, there is also a little bit about what you should do if you actually find an injured wild animal. Because obviously the Animal Adventure Club, it's a made-up story. And you have to be really careful if you find a wild animal because they can sometimes scratch and bite, particularly if they're injured. So I'm just going to read you this little bit as a wee reminder here. The Animal Adventure Club have lots of exciting encounters with wild animals. But remember, in real life, you should always ask a grown-up for help. If you find an injured wild animal, call a local vet or a wildlife organisation for advice. And there's actually some little tips there for you too. Being sensible and cautious, which I'm sure you would be. So that is the Animal Adventure Club, and I hope you've really enjoyed hearing about them, and I've loved chatting to you today, and I really hope you enjoy the rest of Book Week Scotland and keep reading because reading is great fun, a great way to learn and a great way to engage with your imagination. So thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you again soon. Bye everyone. Bye.